Hello and welcome. You're watching Beyond World is One. I'm Dr. Kamal. Let's begin with the headlines.
We'll send them Patriots, which they desperately need, because Putin really surprised a lot of people.
President Donald Trump says the U.S. would send Patriot air defense systems to Ukraine. The weapons delivery will be part of a new deal, which Trump says will involve NATO paying for some of the weapons it sends to Ukraine. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov meets with his Chinese counterpart in Beijing to discuss Ukraine and relations with the United States. Russia's top diplomat is in China following a visit to North Korea.
Gaza, we are talking, and hopefully we're going to get that straightened out over the next week. Let's see what happens.
President Donald Trump says talks are ongoing over a Gaza ceasefire deal, and he hopes for progress in the next week, even as negotiations in Doha appear stalled. Two women killed in a shooting at a church in Kentucky. Police officer injured by the same gunman earlier. Suspect also killed in police firing. Anti-migrant groups continue to clash with riot police in a town in southeastern Spain. Violent clashes erupt after a 68-year-old man was allegedly beaten in an attack being blamed on migrant youth. A second Nipah virus-related death in India's Kerala state prompts an alert in 6 districts. State government confirms a 57-year-old man from Palakkad district who died on July 12th was found Nipah positive. Passenger shares video claiming a SpiceJet flight from Delhi to Srinagar dropped several hundred meters in free fall over the Banihal Pass. No official statement from the airline yet.
Please fasten your seatbelts. Instructing all passengers to be
Wall Street jitters from new U.S. tariff threats weighed on Asian markets as President Trump eyed steep levies on EU and Mexican imports.
Begin with breaking news. At least 2 people are dead and several others injured, including police officers, after a church shooting on this Sunday in Lexington, Kentucky. Authorities saying moments ago that 2 women were killed. Police say it started when the suspect was pulled over for a traffic stop, later ending up at that church. The suspected gunman was killed by police authorities, saying tonight he may have had a connection to the individuals at that church. ABC's Alex Perche leads us off tonight.
Tonight, authorities investigating a deadly shooting at a Kentucky Baptist church. A gunman opening fire, killing 2 women and injuring 2 others.
The suspect was shot by responding law enforcement and was pronounced deceased at the scene.
Police say it all started just after 11:30 this morning. According to officers, the suspect's vehicle was stopped by police near Bluegrass Airport in Lexington after a license plate alert. The suspect shooting at a state trooper before fleeing the scene. And after carjacking another vehicle, police say he made his way to Richmond Road Baptist Church.
The suspect fired his weapon at individuals on church property. Preliminary information indicates that the suspect may have had a connection to the individuals at the church.
First responders rushing the injured to a nearby hospital. Police say one of the victims injured in the church is in critical condition. The injured state trooper and another church victim are stable. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear posting on X, "Please pray for everyone affected by these senseless acts of violence."
Sometimes things happen. We just don't have a reason why. But we're going to be here for the people of Lexington.
The two women killed, 72-year-old Beverly Gum and 32-year-old Christina Combs. The coroner says that this was a small church and many of the attendees were related. Martha?
Alex, thank you.
There's been a string of fire bombings at tobacconists and salons across Sydney. Now, childcare centres appear to be in the firing line. Arsonists hitting a Castle Hill centre this morning, part of the same chain targeted at Turramurra last Friday.
Brand new, but not a child in sight, as forensic police take over the Play to Learn Centre in Castle Hill. Hours earlier, a fire alarm stirred the neighbourhood.
I came out into the street to investigate, and then, of course, the fire brigade and police showed up.
It was quickly established arsonists were responsible. Petrol splashed through the ground floor, but a high-tech sprinkler system prevented any major damage.
It's very concerning. There's no doubt about that. Again, that's a residential street, and it troubles us a lot.
And then there's the obvious link to a firebombing 72 hours earlier. Another newly opened Play to Learn centre in Turramurra targeted in a petrol attack.
I got the call just before 2 a.m. Made me feel sick to my stomach, obviously because what we went through at Turramurra on Friday.
With the flashy video, the Play to Learn family-run chain promotes a luxurious and holistic learning environment.
Professional development is a key priority.
Now it's at the centre of a major investigation led by the Arson Squad.
I can't even comprehend why this has happened. We have no grievances, concerns, issues or internal investigations or anything.
But police are said to have extensive CCTV images of both attacks, and residents have also provided crucial information.
One neighbour who only wished to be quoted and not interviewed told 9 News they heard the smashing of glass and then two voices speaking in Arabic. One yelling, "Yalla," meaning come on, let's go, and then in English, the police are coming.
Play to Learn has a third centre on the Central Coast and it will now be patrolled by police at night. Damien Ryan, 9 News.
And a small plane crashed at London Southend Airport, prompting a major emergency response. No details are available regarding the plane's destination or the number of people that were on board. A video footage showed a 12-metre plane in flames and a plume of fire and black smoke emanating from the crash site. In a statement, the Essex police described the crash as a serious incident. They said that they are working with all the emergency services and the work will be ongoing for several hours. The police also added that a nearby golf club and rugby club were evacuated as a precautionary measure. In a statement issued on Sunday, London Southend Airport announced the airport's closure until further notice. They added that all flights to and from the airport have been cancelled while police, emergency services and air accident investigators are attending the incident. MP from Southend West and LA, while confirming the incident, urged the people to stay away from the crash site and requested them to let the emergency services do their work.
Our thoughts are with the emergency services who are dealing with this incident right now, and of course those who have been impacted. We don't know anything of the status of those individuals yet, and we certainly shouldn't be speculating as to what's happened or how it's happened. But our thoughts now are to, for the emergency services to get this rescue operation done as quickly as possible to make the scene safe. And then we can start asking questions, I guess, after that.
A patient in Arizona has died of bubonic plague, according to multiple reports. A Northern Arizona healthcare spokesperson says the unidentified patient arrived at the Flagstaff Medical Center ER and passed away the same day. Known for causing the Black Death that swept through Europe and Asia in the 12th century, bubonic plague is caused by bacteria known as Yersinia pestis. It impacts humans and other mammals. People usually contract the disease through a bite from an infected rodent, flea, or touching an animal carrying the plague, according to the CDC. Health officials say they made attempts to save the patient's life but were unsuccessful. They say they discovered the person had bubonic plague through a rapid diagnostic test. Local, state, and county officials are investigating how and where the patient contracted the disease. County health officials recently reported a mass prairie dog die-off just northeast of Flagstaff, which they say may be an indicator of the plague. Investigators are now working with the owner of the privately owned land where the prairie dogs died to gather flea samples and test them for bubonic plague. Health officials warn anyone who believes they may have a contagious disease to contact their doctor or, if severe, go to the ER. They say people with potentially contagious illnesses should wear masks when arriving at the hospital to prevent the spread. Bubonic plague infections in the U.S. are rare, but not unheard of. The CDC says there are some cases in the U.S. as well as Africa and Asia each year. The agency reports an average of 7 cases annually in the U.S. Those cases are not always deadly and can be easily cured by antibiotics if caught early enough. Symptoms of bubonic plague usually develop within 2 to 6 days after infection. They include fever, swollen and sore lymph nodes, most common in the armpit, groin, and neck.
A farm worker who suffered serious injuries following an ICE raid at a Ventura County farm has died. That's according to his family. Jaime Alanis is the first person known to die during a Trump immigration raid. His niece confirmed his death to the Associated Press. United Farm Workers says that Alanis fell from a greenhouse roof during Thursday's enforcement action and later died at the hospital. Several others were also hurt. Today, Senator Alex Padilla and border czar Tom Homan responded.
Because of these artificial quotas established by whether it's Donald Trump or Stephen Miller or somebody in the administration, it's causing ICE to get more aggressive, more cruel, more extreme, and these are the results. It's people dying.
ICE did not have hands on this person, but it's always unfortunate when there's deaths.
According to DHS, during the raids at 2 California marijuana farms, agents arrested some 200 people suspected of being in the country illegally. They also identified at least 10 immigrant children on the site.
And as one would expect, chaos erupted in Spain's Pamplona as bulls charged through the streets during the final run of the San Fermin festival. 8 people were injured in the high-speed dash as thrill-seeking revelers, who call it thrill, they sprinted amid the centuries-old tradition. Take a look at these visuals.
New flood alert and threat is now looming over central Texas, prompting authorities to hold search operations at the Kirk County. And this comes in the wake of catastrophic flood that struck the region earlier this month. Officials in central Texas launched one of the largest search and rescue operations after the July 4th floods claimed over 100 lives, with 161 people still missing. Police in Kerrville announced suspension of ground search operations early on Sunday morning due to an imminent flood danger. The warning was directed at volunteer groups combing the area. According to authorities, there is a high probability that the Guadalupe River can rise to flood levels anytime. A flash flood warning from the National Weather Service continues as rainfall is expected to continue at a rate of 1 to 2.5 inches per hour, according to the forecast bulletin. Last week, the U.S. president expressed shock and grief during his visit to Central Texas. The president met first responders, victims' families, and local officials as he extended his disaster declaration. The flood has been described as one of the worst disasters to hit Texas in decades. 27 girls washed away from the Camp Mystic has been just one of the flood's many tragedies. Meanwhile, severe floods have hit southern Bangladesh, inundating several low-lying areas across Feni district and triggering an emergency rescue operation. After days of continuous heavy rains, roads, homes and farmland have disappeared beneath the water. Local authorities, with help from civil authorities, have launched rescue efforts using boats and makeshift rafts to evacuate stranded residents.
My pound fish, cows, goats, chickens, household items, clothes were all washed away in the floodwater. We couldn't save anything. We somehow swam here with our children and took shelter. We came here with only one cloth.
Last year, the country witnessed 2 devastating floods. This year, floods add to its growing list of climate-related disasters. People have lost their lives, properties, and livestock in these floods.
There have been 2 floods in the last year. We are in great trouble with people, livestock and property in these floods. Will people save their young children or their property? People have saved some assets, as much as they can. The rest of the things have been swept away by the flood. Some houses are submerged up to their necks in water, while others are submerged up to their chests in water. We will not be able to go home for another week.
Over the last few days, the water level of several rivers, including Tista and Darla, has risen significantly. Met Department says moderate to heavy rainfall will likely continue for the next few days. Authorities have set up shelters to accommodate displaced families. And Europe is sweltering under record-breaking heat waves, from Scotland's beaches crowded with heat-weary residents to Serbian farmers battling dying crops, and Moscow residents enduring scorching temperatures. The continent is in the grip of an unforgiving summer. Here's a report.
A major healthcare tax break that helped millions afford insurance is now missing. President Donald Trump signed the One Big Beautiful Bill Act into law on July 4th, but it left out enhanced premium tax credits for the Affordable Care Act. Health experts say that move could send ACA premiums higher in 2026, up more than 75% for some families. Head of the California Medical Association says patients will delay care, get sicker, and some will die. This year alone, more than 22 million people use the tax credit to lower their health insurance costs, with an average savings of $705. That's around 92% of all ACA enrollees. The Congressional Budget Office says the Trump-backed law and related policies could leave 16 million more people uninsured by 2034. That includes nearly 8 million losing Medicaid, over 3 million drop from ACA plans, and 4 million more if the tax credits aren't extended. The premium tax credits were created to make insurance affordable for people who buy coverage through the ACA marketplace. They're based on income and family size. During the pandemic, the Biden administration expanded them to cover more people. For many Americans, losing this credit could mean losing their current health coverage completely.
ما همواره آماده گفتگو در خصوص برنامه هسته خودمون بودیم و در آینده هم خواهیم بود ولی طبیعی است که باید اطمینان حاصل بشه که اگر دوباره مذاکراتی شروع شد توسط آمریکا یا کشورهای دیگه به جنگ کشیده نخواهد شد. رفقای محترم، خطر اشاعه مواد رادیواکتیو جدی هست. خطر انفجار مهماتی که از جنگ باقی مونده خطر جدی هست و اینکه بازرسین آژانس بتونن به این مراکز نزدیک بشن برای ما هم جنبه امنیتی داره که باید بررسی بشه و هم ایمنی خود بازرسین هم موضوعیت داره که باید بررسی بشه. همه همکاری های ما با آژانس من بعد از طریق و از مسیر شورای عالی امنیت ملی مدیریت خواهد شد. تقاضاهای آژانس برای ادامه نظارت خودش در ایران، برای ادامه همکاری با ایران مورد به مورد توسط شورای عالی امنیت ملی بررسی خواهد شد و با در نظر داشتن مسائل ایمنی و امنیتی در مورد اونها تصمیم گیری خواهد شد. سفرای محترم و
Iran's intelligence services are now considered the most dangerous state-level threat to Britain. That's according to a new report from the UK Parliament, and it's raising concerns far beyond British borders. The UK's Intelligence and Security Committee says Iran has stepped up efforts to intimidate, kidnap, or kill people inside the United Kingdom. Officials say British security services have disrupted at least 15 plots since 2022, targeting dissidents, dual nationals, and individuals tied to Israel. The committee describes Iran's intelligence network as ferociously well-resourced and says British policy has focused too narrowly on Tehran's nuclear program while underestimating other threats. The report warns Iran also carries out cyber attacks, online harassment, and digital espionage. The UK now ranks just behind the US and Saudi Arabia as a top target for Iranian cyber operations. And tensions resurfaced earlier this month when a top Iranian official joked on state TV about launching a drone strike on President Donald Trump. U.S. intelligence agencies have previously warned of credible threats tied to Iran's retaliation for the 2020 killing of General Qasem Soleimani. Iranian leaders have pushed back. In an interview with Tucker Carlson, President Masoud Pezeshkian denied his government had anything to do with assassination plots, calling it a false narrative pushed by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
It was Netanyahu since 1984 has created this false mentality that Iran seeks a nuclear bomb, and it has insinuated that Iran is trying to develop a nuclear bomb in the past.
Iran's embassy in London called the UK report defamatory and rejected the claims. The report has already gone to British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, who now has 60 days to respond. Analysts say it could lead to closer counterintelligence work with NATO partners, including the U.S., as Western governments reassess Iran's reach beyond its borders.
The U.S. President Donald Trump has announced a new military aid package for Ukraine, including Patriot missile defense systems to help fight off a Russian invasion. The move comes as relations between Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin continues to deteriorate.
I haven't agreed on the number yet, but they're going to have some, because they do need protection, but the European Union is paying for it. We're not paying anything for it, but we will send it. It'll be business for us, and we will send them Patriots, which they desperately need, because Putin really surprised a lot of people. He talks nice, and then he bombs everybody in the evening. So there's a little bit of a problem there, and I don't like it.
The weapons delivery will be part of a new deal which Trump says will involve NATO paying the U.S. for some of the weapons it sends to Ukraine. Also on Sunday, U.S. senators unveiled a bipartisan sanctions bill aimed at pressuring Moscow and its allies. The legislation described by Senator Lindsey Graham as a sledgehammer would grant Trump authority to impose massive economic penalties on countries that help Russia, including those that purchase Russian goods like China, India, or Brazil. U.S. Special Envoy Keith Kellogg will visit Ukraine on Monday for high-level talks. Trump is also expected to meet NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, where he says a major statement on Russia will be made. Germany, on the other hand, has ruled out sending its long-range Taurus missiles to Kyiv. Instead, Berlin will finance the production of hundreds of similar systems capable of striking deep behind Russian lines. According to reports, new weapons will strike targets over 500 kilometers away, enabling Ukraine to disrupt Russian logistics and command centers. Deliveries are expected to begin by the end of this month. Meanwhile, Ukraine Security Service, the SBU, reported that it had eliminated 2 Russian agents believed to be behind the assassination of Colonel Ivan Voronovich in Kyiv last week. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, meanwhile, is meeting his Chinese counterpart, Wang Yi, in Beijing. They discussed relations with the U.S. and the outlook for settling the Ukrainian crisis. China, a diplomatic and economic ally of Moscow, claims to be neutral in the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, but has never denounced Russia's 2022 invasion nor called it to withdraw its troops. Many of Ukraine's allies believe that China has provided support for Russia.
The U.S. military conducted a series of joint exercises with the Panama police aimed at guarding the Panama Canal. The exercise comes amid simmering tensions over alleged Chinese influence along the prized trade route. And to kick off the drills, 3 U.S. Army helicopters arrived in Panama on Sunday, landing at the Panama Pacific Airport, formerly the U.S. Howard Base. The sub-commissioner of Panama's National Aeronaval Service has said the exercises would prepare Panama's forces, as well as countries in the region, against any threats to the security and defense of the canal.
The Panamax exercise is an initiative that began in 2002 and was put into practice in 2003. To date, we have been conducting this exercise for 23 years with the aim of preparing our forces as well as the countries of the region against any threat, particularly with regard to the security and defense of the Panama Canal.
U.S. soldiers had conducted similar exercises in Panama a month ago as well, under a bilateral agreement that basically allows Washington to use Panama air and naval bases for training without establishing its own bases. And that agreement that came amid pressure from Donald Trump has sparked protests across the country. In fact, he has repeatedly claimed that China has too much influence over the canal, which handles about 40% of U.S. container traffic and 5% of world trade. In April, Trump had also called for the free transit of American commercial and military ships through the interoceanic route, claiming that the canal would not exist without the U.S. On the other hand, the Panama president had clarified that the toll fees are regulated by the Panama Canal Authority, which is an autonomous governing body overseeing the trade route. North Korea has lashed out at a recent joint aerial exercise conducted by the United States, Japan and South Korea, warning them of what it calls grave consequences. The joint aerial drill was held on July 11 over international waters near South Korea's southern Jeju Island. It involved advanced weapons from all 3 nations, including a U.S. B-52H strategic bomber capable of carrying nuclear weapons. And according to South Korea's defense ministry, the drill aimed to enhance deterrence against what it called North Korea's evolving nuclear and missile threats. Pyongyang called the joint action provocative and threatening and accused Washington, D.C., Seoul and Tokyo of forming a nuclear-based triangular military alliance. It warned that their actions risk plunging the region into what it described as an unpredictable phase of military confrontation. The Russian foreign minister warned the U.S., South Korea and Japan against forming security alliance targeting North Korea.
Military construction is underway around this country with the participation of the USA, South Korea, Japan. We warn against exploiting these ties to build alliances directed against anyone, including North Korea and, of course, Russia.
Pyongyang views US-led military drills as invasion rehearsals. It has long argued that it is forced to develop nuclear weapons to defend itself from US military threats.